One of the Constitutional Court candidates has called on the government to take more seriously its commitment to changing briefing patterns. Justice Minister Ronald Lamola was among the commissioners who raised concerns about briefing patterns that are disadvantaging black women and lawyers. Supreme Court of Appeal Judge Mahobe Molemela said there were often conversations about changing briefing patterns, but implementation was a concern. Lamola specifically raised concerns about briefing patterns at the State Attorney's Office. Staying with the story, we now cross to Newzroom Africa's news editor Dianne Hawker, who is following that story for us. Dianne, you have been at the interviews for a better part of today and yesterday. What have been some of the key issues that have emerged from the interviews this afternoon?
Good afternoon to you, Tammy, and also to our viewers. It's been a very entertaining 2 days thus far, many issues being canvassed here by the Commission, and I would like to get into that as soon as possible, but I also just want to first engage with Commission spokesperson Mr. Dalumpofu, who's been here. One of the key issues that people have been tracking with regards to the judiciary has actually been the issue relating to Judge President John Hlophe, and I think we just want to get some clarity first before lunch runs away with us as to whether there's been any deliberation on that by the Commission. Mr. Mpofu.
Yes, indeed. As you know, that a few days before our routine meeting, the JCT report came out, and we have accordingly put on the agenda, even though the matter was not original on the agenda, that issue. And our decision has been that, it will be dealt with in due course. Obviously, we cannot talk about the merits of the case, but we felt that it's important to take the public into our confidence as far as the process is concerned, because there seems to be a lot of confusion. What really happens is that after the Judicial Conduct Tribunal has made a decision, such as the one it has made, it then comes to the Judicial Service Commission, which sits without the members of Parliament, and then it has to take a decision as to the guilt or otherwise of Judge Hlophe in respect of gross misconduct. That is the trigger. If the Judicial Service Commission finds that, confirms the finding of the JCT, then the matter goes to Parliament. If, on the other hand, the JSC finds otherwise, or differs, or reverses, or amends the finding of the JCT, then it's dealt with differently. So that's where matters are now. It is at a stage where the parties, in other words, Judge Hlophe and the complainants, will submit their submissions to the JSC, and the JSC will then consider the record and those submissions and then make that finding. So it's still early days, but the process is going ahead, and it will be dealt with normally like any other matter.
So just a follow-up question there, Mr. Mpofu. Obviously, this issue with Judge Hlophe has taken a lot of time. Started in 2008, there were many court cases, and I suppose there is a concern from the public that, the process isn't moving swiftly. What are the kind of time frames that the JSC has set itself, or hopeful time frames, to get this resolved?
Well, it will be resolved as soon as possible. I don't think we can put a particular date, but we can assure the public that there'll be no wastage of time from our side. We have no control as to what might happen in other processes or other forums. But if all things being equal, if there are no court cases or any other issues that are intervening, the matter should be finalized within a reasonable time. But we are also not going to rush it unnecessarily and end up making mistakes which might cost a few more years. So it's better to do it properly and just to assure the public that it will be done as soon as practically possible.
And just one last question about the session here. I know there will still be deliberations, but just generally, the Commission sitting is definitely taking longer than expected. The initial time frames were set for an hour, and we're seeing much longer interviews from that. Are you anticipating a lengthy session carrying on into the evening with very late night deliberations?
Yes, I think so. And there is, I suppose, one of the unwritten rules is also that when it comes to interviews of the higher courts, such as the Constitutional Court, the interviews do tend to take longer. And I suppose that is for obvious reasons, because the Commission has to satisfy itself. These are quite senior positions. So yes, we expect to go for as long as it is possible. Yes, but you're quite right. It has taken a little bit longer than usual. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mpofu. That was the Commission spokesperson, Advocate Dianne Hawker, who's just come into this position in this sitting. He was voted in along with another commissioner to be the two spokespeople. Tommy, if I recall your initial question, it was just regarding what we've heard here today. In fact, quite a lot coming out from the Commission through the interviews that we've been seeing here, also touching on different topics, the issue of transformation being a key one in the most recent interview of Judge Molamela. And then earlier on, we also heard from another judge who was also speaking about the issue of transformation. But I suppose they were coming at it from slightly different perspectives. One, Judge Molamela is focusing a lot more on the issue of gender when it came to the Commission.
Well, thank you very much for that update, Dianne. I know the Commission is still going to be going on for a good part of the afternoon, as per the discussion that you've just had with Advocate Dianne Hawker there. What is it that we ought to be looking forward to for the rest of today?
Well, Tommy, there are 3 more candidates that are meant to be interviewed this afternoon. I can't exactly remember the order, but I know that there would be Judge David Unterhalter, who's on the list, as well as Judge Bashir Vali, as well as Judge Daya Pillay, who are going to be being interviewed. They are all High Court judges, so we were not likely to see more of that questions about the top 6 that actually dominated the earlier proceedings. They're likely to focus more on issues relating to the High Court, which oftentimes has to deal with how much work, the caseloads that the High Court actually has to deal with. Of course, this is a 2-week sitting of the Judicial Service Commission, one of the longest that it's ever had, partly because of the COVID-19 pandemic throwing off the 2020 sittings. And if all the days are like today, I can imagine that you'll have some very tired commissioners at the end of that 2-week period.
Certainly, Dianne. Thank you very much for that update. That's our news editor for Newzroom Afrika, Dianne Hawker.